喂，大家早安，我是代表圣玛利诺华协的理事，我是黄群燕。Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. This morning is the event hosted by the Chinese Club of San Marino. 谢谢大家今天早上的参与。今天呢，我们是跟我们的圣玛利诺市，我们的应该说市府的官员呢，要来跟大家分享一些关于我们社区的一些所谓建筑法规，还有所谓的砍树啊。社区的一些议题，所以今天我们也特别希望你们有把你们的问题呢，可以放在这个chat 上面，可以打出来。Today, we particularly welcome Aldo from the city of San Marino to share with a lot of, I would say, particularly regarding the ADU, tree trimming, and the various issue. So I'm very honored to be the translator. So today we're going to invite all our city residents to put in your question into the chat. And I will be the translator. So I would let Aldo to introduce himself and also start his presentation. And there's going to be a Q&A session. 所以我们今天会有一些关于一个问答的方式啊，所以我们会让我们的市政府的官员呢，专门来解释有关于我们的社区发展的一些相关的一些议题。那也让他来跟大家分享。那就把您的问题写在我们的所谓的问答上面吧。那我们就请 Aldo 开始了。Aldo, welcome. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for inviting me this morning to talk about various topics in our city. These are kind of the hot topics, of course, that we're all dealing with nowadays when it comes to developments as well as tree and historic preservation.
今天早上谢谢大家的参加。今天我们要跟大家分享的关于就是我们圣玛利诺市一些有关于在建筑上一些很重要也受到大家瞩目的一些话题哦。所以今天会透过这个时候呢跟大家做分享。
So I hope that everyone can see the screen. And so if that is the case, I'll go ahead and get started with the presentation. And so the conversation today is going to be about five very important topics.
今天我们要谈的有5项蛮重要的话题。
And so we have accessory dwelling units will be the first topic to discuss, and then we'll talk about new construction versus remodeling or renovation of a single family house. We'll talk about historic preservation and what it means for single family properties, tree removal permits, as well as tree trimming permits.
今天我们要谈的这5项话题，现在在画面上有看到。那我们刚刚我们华协也做了一个简单的翻译，在文字上，第一个就是关于所谓的附属的居住屋跟单元，或者是经济型的居住单元，或者是新的建筑，或是你要装修房子的建筑项目，或者是这个历史的保护，然后再过来就是我们树木的这个。你要把树木砍走的时候，这个采伐的许可证，还有树木修剪的许可证。
So the first one being accessory dwelling units, that's what ADU stands for. There's also the term JADU. Those are considered junior accessory dwelling units, and I'll discuss what those two mean.
今天第一项我们讨论的 ADU 呢，就是所谓的附属的居住的屋子跟单元。那另外一个 JADU 呢，就是所谓的经济型的，叫 Junior 的ADU.
So accessory dwelling units and junior ADUs are really a popular method for building nowadays. And a lot of residents in this city are taking full advantage of the opportunity to build additional square footage on their properties because the benefits are that you don't need a public hearing to develop these ADUs or junior ADUs, although there are certain development standards that you have to abide by, like setbacks, height requirements.
最近这个所谓的附属居住屋 ADU 跟 JADU 呢，在我们城市是非常的受欢迎的。主要的原因就是因为它在申请的过程中不需要经过公听会，当然你需要填一些表格，那有一些相关的程序，但它是相对的简单许多也快速。
And so accessory dwelling units or junior ADUs is a very simple process for obtaining a building permit to build these structures. There are different ways that you can propose an accessory dwelling unit or ADU. You can propose an ADU as an attached building to the home. You can propose it as a detached building to your home, or you can even propose it as converting a a garage into an ADU?
这个我们刚刚说这个附属居住屋 ADU 跟 JADU 的申请的标准很简单的原因，是因为它有大概几个方式哦。一个就是你可以是单独存在的一个在你的土地上的单独存在一个单独屋，或者是你可以建在你房子的旁边连接的，甚至可以是你所谓的车库改建出来的这个 ADU。
A majority of the applications that we're seeing so far are of conversions of existing garages into ADUs. The great benefit of converting a garage into an ADU is that you don't have to move the building. You just convert or remodel the garage and make it a living space.
最常见的现在看到大部分就是所谓的车库改建，然后你不需要再重新单独的盖一个建筑物，而是把你现有的这个车库呢做改建。
Now, the other options, of course, would be to build a brand new structure and design it as an ADU. You do have development standards for those types of projects when you build a brand new building, and those are that the height of the building cannot exceed 16 feet, and you're required to meet 4-foot setbacks to the rear and side property lines, as well as being 6 feet away from any other building.
如果你不是所谓的现有的所谓车库改建的话，你是单独存在的 ADU 的话，那它的相关规定就有一定的，比如说它这个周围的旁边跟建筑物的边界的尺啊，6尺、4尺这些就必须要是规定的，因为它不是一个单独的建筑物，这个就跟车库改建是不一样。
And most importantly, if you are going to build a brand new structure for an ADU, you are capped in the amount of square footage to no more than 850 square feet for a single room ADU, and no more than 1,000 square feet for up to 2 bedrooms for the ADU.
如果你是盖单独的这种所谓的附属住宅呢，它有相关于它的大小，它的尺寸的大小。所以如果是一厅的，就一房的，那不能超过850平方尺；如果是2房的，不能超过1000平方尺。
Now, a junior ADU is less popular because a junior ADU doesn't allow for you to build a brand new structure, nor does it allow for you to convert the garage into a junior ADU. The rules state that if you're going to develop a junior ADU, that it has to be developed within the existing house as it is now. So basically, you're not allowed to add additional square footage for the construction of a junior ADU.
如果我们谈到所谓的经济型的 ADU， 就是 JADU， 那它就不一样了哦。你不可以盖一个全新的建筑物，而且你不可以增加你现有的所谓的生活的这个平方尺。那因为 JADU 就是等于从你现有的平方尺里面去寻找这个所谓的附属住宅单位，所以它是不一样的要求，所以比较少人做。
Now, the whole intention of a junior ADU and the state adopted rules that cities have to abide by, but the intention of the state is to allow for the building of additional housing units for housing opportunities for the population. Now, the intention of the junior ADUs or ADUs are to allow for the rental opportunity for the housing unit.
为什么加州会有这个所谓的附属住宅单位？其实最大的原因就是因为希望能够帮助更多人能够找到居住的场所。那又加上说这个 Junior ADU 或者是 ADU 呢，它是可以出租的单位，所以它可以变成一个另外单独的生活空间。
And one of the realities of San Marino is that the ADUs and junior ADUs that are being built nowadays are not being rented. They're not being offered up for housing opportunities for other families or individuals who are looking for housing. In fact, the ADUs are being built for personal reasons of the property owner to use them as either pool houses or additional bedrooms, or to house sort of that multi-generational situation for grandparents, children coming back from college, that sort of thing.
在圣马力诺市呢，大部分的屋主在盖这个 ADU 或 JADU 的时候呢，绝大多数都不是为了把房子出租，他都是可能是因为个人的理由，比如他需要更多的房间，或者是他把它当成他后院的这个游泳池屋，然后再过来，很多人事实上是让这个多代同堂能够住在一起，所以他增加了这个 ADU、JADU 的这个单位。
So if anyone is interested in looking at building or designing an accessory dwelling unit or ADU, a lot of the architects that are in town are well versed as to the requirements of an ADU, which simplifies the process for you as their client. And so if you're interested in looking at developing an ADU, certainly reach out to a lot of the prominent architects in town, and they can help you design something for your needs.
如果我们的市民想要在圣马力诺市自己的房地上盖这个所谓的 ADU、JADU 呢，事实上有我们当地很多所谓的建筑公司呢、设计师呢，他们都了解怎么样能够简化这个过程，因为他们很了解市政府要求的规定。所以如果你是那个想要盖 ADU 或 JADU 的人呢，事实上你就是去找这些已经很了解这个过程的建筑师，跟你一起合作，你就可以申请。
And so what I want to do is given the complexity of this one topic, I do want to open up for questions right now before I go on to the next topic. And so this is an opportunity for you to ask questions about any details surrounding ADUs or junior ADUs.
因为这个问题其实要讲这个附属住宅单位可以有讲到更仔细也更复杂。那我想利用这个时候呢，开放给大家问问题。如果你们对自己不管是住家，你对这个建附属住宅单位有问题的话，你可以现在问我们问题。
So are there any questions regarding ADUs or junior ADUs? Now's the time to ask.
有关于这个所谓的 ADU， 我们刚刚讲的简单的解释。现在我们可能就让线上所有的听众跟市民，如果你想问问题，你可以在 chat 上面把你的问题，中文、英文都没有关系。如果你写中文，我看得到。你写英文的话 ，Aldo 看得到。You can write in English or Mandarin, doesn't matter. Aldo and I will figure out. 所以现在开始写。Now Aldo, you see the question from Samuel.
I see it. So the first question is, how long will it take to get a permit, and what are the fees? And so by state law as well as our own city laws, we have 60 days to issue a permit. And the fees are fairly minimal with respect to the ADU because of its size, but fee-wise, you're looking at something no different than if you were building an addition. So you're looking at maybe $1,000 to maybe a little less than $1,000 for the permit itself.
关于第一个问题的就是说，这个申请要盖一个这个 ADU 要花多少时间跟它的费用。那 Aldo 的回答就是，加州的法律跟我们城市的法律基本上因为要快速审查，所以60天应该就会知道。那至于这个许可证呢，因为它跟盖的大小有关，所以既然也不是盖这么大，所以它的费用大概在1000块左右。Aldo, there's a question asking about, can you provide a list of a construction partner they can go you in Chinese?
Yeah, I know unfortunately, we're not allowed to recommend architects or contractors because of bias conditions. So there are a lot of them who work in the city, and so you can certainly reach out to the ones that are out there right now. But we're not allowed to recommend.
关于刚刚有这个问题说有没有建商的名单，城市因为公平起见，他们不能够提供任何相关建筑师或者是建商的推荐名单，但是大家都可以在社区问问应该还是可以找得到是哪一些建商跟建筑师是做相关的 ADU. The next question you see, Aldo, right?
Yes. So will there be a need for a separate permit for plumbing and electrical for the ADU permit?
这个问题是有关于，就是说要盖这个 ADU 是不是要有另外一个特别的许可证，关于它的所谓地下水管啊、水电啊这些的许可证。
And so the answer to that is no. There isn't a separate permit needed. When you obtain the building permit, that permit will also include electrical and plumbing.
答案就是不需要的，因为它在你申请盖 ADU 的那个表格上面就包括了，而且你不需要再另外为这个单独的房子再重新申请，所以不需要。
And so the next question is there a minimum lot size?
下一个问题是关于说那有没有规定这个房子的土地面积要多，最少要多大的土地面积？
And the short answer to that is no. There is no minimum lot size requirement. Any residential property in the city can qualify for an ADU.
答案是没有，任何一个城市任何一个在圣马力诺的这些住宅的自己的地呢，没有规定你最少要多大的地。
The next question is, can we change our patio into an ADU?
下一个问题是关于我们可以把我们后院那个凉亭啊，这个露台改成 ADU。
And the answer to that is no. The existing building must be enclosed with 4 walls to be qualified as a conversion project.
答案是不可以它必须是如果你要从现有房屋改建的话，那它必须是已经有完整的墙壁才可以盖这个 ADU。
Next question.
It's in Chinese. So it was asking that JADU, does that exclude the single unit of the JADU?
Yeah, the junior ADU must be a minimum of 150 square feet, maximum 500 square feet, but it must be inside the existing house. So basically, it's a remodel of the existing house to create the junior ADU.
OK, 所以刚刚他特别讲那个 JADU 的那个 square， 我就不太跟你讲。那重点他回答你的问题就是，因为它 JADU 的意义就是它必须跟你现有的房子里面做出来的，不能增加多少的平方尺，所以它不是单独的屋。
And so the next question is, will an ADU increase the property tax? Now, property taxes are determined by the county, but my understanding of property tax is that any improvement that you do to your property is likely to trigger an assessment of the property and could result in an increase to the property tax.
关于所谓的盖这个 ADU 会不会增加房地的房屋税？那因为房屋税这个是由县政府的所谓的估值官来做估价的，所以正常来讲，任何一个房子做了任何在建筑上的应该是增加地面面积或是改善，它本来就有可能会导致成你的房屋税做所谓的估价的增值，所以这是有可能会增加你的房屋税的。
The next question is, can we change a second floor of a garage storage room into an ADU? The answer is yes. If the existing space is there, you are allowed to convert that into an ADU, whether it's a garage or an existing space above the garage.
这个问题是关于说，你可不可以把你在这个车库的2楼呢，做成 ADU？ 那答案是可以的，因为你不管是车库的本身，或是因为车库的高度本身可以做这个 ADU 是可以的。
Yeah, you're not allowed to increase the height of the building to accommodate for ceiling height, nor increase the square footage. You have to convert the space that is present at the moment for an ADU.
Yeah. 那它关于这个车库，它特别做解释，就是说你不能够在现有车库，它本来的房屋高度是有限制的，你不可能在现有的加盖那个房屋高度，所以这个部分是有限制的。所以你要用这个车库去改装 ADU 的话，你要有这个关于高度跟宽度的问题。The next question in Chinese is asking about basement. Can basement be an ADU?
Yes, if you have an existing basement or you want to build a basement to create an ADU, that is a possibility, yes.
是可以的。如果你现在就有地下室，然后你要把你的地下室转换成 ADU， 这是可以的。
So the next question is, does an attached ADU follow FAR, which is floor area ratio, and cover, which I'm assuming is lot coverage?
下一个问题是关于说这个连接在一起的 ADU， 它是不是有所谓的这个平方尺的这些要求
Yeah, so this one's a great question because the short answer is yes. An ADU is going to count as living space or FAR as well as lot coverage.
答案是有这样相关的要求，因为它是算是它的这个住宅面积做住宅的平方尺。
Now, one of the interesting things about this question is that the law allows for the waiver of setbacks, lot coverage, and living space if you're designing an 800 square foot ADU that is no higher than 16 feet.
OK， 关于这个，因为 FAR 呢，它很特别的，就是说，本来是有一定的规定，可是因为盖 ADU 的时候呢，它是有一个可以减免的一个规则，就是说有关于你要多少尺的宽，比如你对房子的限制，还有它算你的这个居住面积，那原则上你不能够超过800，而且高不可以超过16尺，这是有限制的。
So for example, if your property was already at the max in terms of FAR, and you propose an 800 square foot ADU that is 16 feet in height, we have to waive the living area maximum and allow for you to exceed it because that's what the law allows.
所以如果说今天你的房子在你现有土地上，你已经使用到最高的所谓的居住可盖的这个面积了，那现在你来申请所谓的 ADU， 那法律规定我们必须要准许你可以再盖800的 ADU， 要准许你盖，所以等于就是不管你现在的尺寸，如果你已经到了极点了，但是你还是可以再盖800这个16尺以下高度以下的 ADU， 这个政府是必须准许的。
The next question I'll need help with it.
I know. So they're asking that ADU, does that have the separate, the water meter, all of that?
Yeah, so the answer for utilities is that you're not allowed to separate utilities. They have to be connected to the existing utilities of the house.
法律规定这个 ADU 呢，它所有的水电表是必须连接在跟主屋原来房子一起的，没有分开的。
The next question is, what is the requirements for windows in the ADU? If the existing unit has wood or aluminum windows, what kind of windows will need to be for the new attached ADU?
这个问题是有关于，就是说这个 ADU 它的窗户，如果现在的房子本身就有这些所谓的木头啊、铝窗啊这些的，那在它新盖的这些所谓连接的 ADU 的时候，它对窗户的要求是什么？
And so I'm going to answer that question in sort of a broad architectural way. And this includes windows and roofing and stucco, that kind of thing. So the code recommends that you match the existing house in terms of windows, roofing material, form, and massing.
原则上我用这个比较大范围来解释说，当你在申请 ADU 的时候，我们城市当然会希望你在盖这个新的 ADU 的时候，它会跟你的主屋的，不管在屋顶、窗户跟它水泥墙部分呢是相似的，跟你现有的主屋是相似的。
Next question.
This house has a pool. Okay. This house they have pool house and also a basement. Can they make both become the ADU and become 2 ADU in the house?
You're only allowed to have one ADU on any property. You're not allowed to have 2 ADUs on any property. You can take the pool house and convert it into an ADU. And also, if there is a basement under the pool house, you can make that part of the ADU as well, but it has to be all one, and also cannot exceed the maximum allowance for an ADU, whether that's 850 square feet or 1,000 square feet.
Okay. 这个问题关于说它可不可以盖2个 ADU， 当然不可以，在一个房子的这个土地上只能有一个 ADU。可是 Aldo 也解释，如果你现在讲的这个 pool house 就是房屋，它的下面就直接是地下室，如果它是连在一起的，那它就算一个。可是如果是分开的就不算，而且它还是要符合那个最多不能超过多少尺的 ADU 在一个地上超过1000多尺，或者是从850到1000多，所以这个是有标准的。
Yes, so the follow-up question on the windows, if both houses have wood and aluminum, The question is, but if the existing main house has both types of windows, which one to follow?
下一个问题就是刚刚有之前问过说，房子本身可能不只是有木头屋，又有木头窗户，又有铝窗户。那等到要盖这个 ADU 的时候，到底是要遵循木的窗户还是铝的窗户？
And really, it's up to you which one you want to follow. We recommend that you follow the windows that are nearest the attached ADU. So if the window on the existing house is aluminum and you plan to build the ADU next to that, then you can follow that existing pattern.
原则上他们会建议屋主，就是你要盖的 ADU， 如果距离最近靠近它旁边主屋的那些窗户，如果它是木的，当然最好就是木的。如果它靠近它最近的那个是铝的，那隔壁就是铝的。原则上就是靠近这个你的 ADU 跟最靠近主屋旁边的这个窗户什么样的，他们就建议你用什么样的。I think you answered a lot of questions. There's no more.
Yeah, no more. The last.
还有其他的问题吗？最后一次关于这个ADU， 我们就要开始讨论下一个题目了。Okay, I guess we can move on. If later on there's more, we can come back.
Yeah, the last slide does have my contact information. If you have any follow-up information, certainly send me an email or give me a call and I can answer your questions on that.
Okay. 我们今天所有的活动最后下面呢，there's one more question in Chinese regarding ADU. They said, do they need a consent from neighbor?
No consent from neighbor required.
ADU 不需要邻居的同意。This is a good question to ask.
I know, right? I know.
Yes, in San Marino, you always need a neighbor's consent on everything, right?
Exactly. Not like, so the next topic, of course, is a different situation. There are more questions, looks like.
Yeah. So there's a setback rule waive if the, why do I speak in English? I don't know why.
So the question is, so the setback could be waived if the ADU is less than 850 square feet.
问题是有关于说，如果我的 ADU 本身的这个大小的这个居住空间是小于850，我可不可以不需要有这个 setback， 就是它中间要隔这些多少的要求？
Yes, so the setbacks are, the only setback that can be waived is the front setback. The side and rear setbacks must be 4 feet.
就是唯一可以不减免它的所谓的 setback， 只有前面，就是你前面面对的部分，但是你在侧面跟后面都一定要4尺，这是一定的，这不可以那个。
In order to waive any of the setbacks or lot coverage or FAR, you have to demonstrate that there is no other location to build the ADU.
如果你要能够减免那相关的刚刚提过的那个 FAR， 就是一个地上可以盖多少的 living， 那是除非你能够证明在这块土地上，就是你自己的房子的土地上没有任何其他地方可以盖 ADU 了。
Okay, so I think we can move on to the next topic.
那我们现在下一个题目了 ，OK？
Yeah, so new construction versus renovation projects.
我们现在讨论的是新的建筑物跟你要做房子的装修。
So new construction is pretty typical in the city, and you see them mostly with single-family new construction projects.
这在我们这两个大家都很了解，就是你平常看到人家新盖或者他们在装修房子。
And what I wanted to do is not talk about the standards like setbacks and lot coverage. I wanted to talk about process.
他现在要谈的就是关于这个申请的过程，然后还有一些就相关的规定，比如说他必须距离土地旁边多少尺啊，它能够覆盖多少面积。
So new construction will always require a public hearing, as well as the last question was consent of neighbors.
任何一个新盖的房子，它一定要经过公听，而且也需要邻居的同意。
And the reviewing body is going to be the planning commission. They're the ones who are authorized to review projects that are new single-family homes.
在这个申请过程中来看这个申请的是我们市的所谓的 planning commissioner， 那就是我们所谓的都市规划的委员会，他们对所有新建筑物的申请，他们都会审查。
And so the most successful projects are the ones that follow very specific steps when it comes to designing, involving the neighbors, and following the rules and regulations of the city.
所以要做一个成功的、顺利的这个所谓的新的建筑项目呢，你要根据所有的步骤。那最成功的就是你要一开始在设计，还有在跟邻居的沟通，还有就是说所有的城市的法规你都要非常的清楚。
And the primary concern or question with respect to new construction is always the design of the building.
通常在过去看到 case 最大的问题，绝大多数都是在设计就出了问题。
And so the best rule of thumb that I can offer is when you're looking to design a new home in a particularly established neighborhood, you want to utilize the neighborhood for giving you some kind of influence over the design. And so if the neighborhood is, for example, ranch style homes, then that really should be the style of the home that you design for your property.
所以在设计的最初始的时候呢，任何一个新的建筑物，你要考虑的最重要是你居住的这个房子本身坐落的它的所谓的附近的邻居，它的房屋形态是什么样子。如果这条街的房屋都是特定某一个型，不管是西班牙式或是殖民时代的房子，你要盖的新的建筑物就要跟那条街跟你的邻居相似。
Yeah, and so, and obviously it's very different when it comes to the renovation of a project or renovation of a home. Most renovations don't require a public hearing.
那至于我们刚刚所谓的房屋的这个整修那这个呢就不需要经过公听会。
If the goal of the property owner is to keep the existing home in its current place, but renovate the interior or remodel the interior, that's a more streamlined process that you will work with staff here at the city to obtain the appropriate permits.
如果你装修就是改房子的内部，不管是装潢跟设计，那你就是跟我们城市的员工一起合作来拿到所谓的许可，就不需要公听会。
And of course, the difference with renovation versus new construction, although renovation projects are streamlined and faster, new construction projects going through the planning commission process will likely take you about 3 to 4 months to get through the hearing process.
当然在盖新的或是装修现有的，它程序上当然是不一样，所以在做新的呢，光是要能够排上这个我们所谓都市计划委员会的委员会开会呢，大概要3到4个月的才能够排上那个公听。
And we always encourage that if you hire an architect to put plans together for new construction, that we encourage yourselves as well as your architects to call staff to make sure that you're going in the right direction from a design perspective.
你一旦决定要雇用一个建筑师来设计你的全新的房子的时候，我们很希望这个建筑师在最早开始就已经开始跟市政府做联系，所以他了解他必须要走过的这个步骤。
Yeah, and the ultimate goal of any new project or new construction is to sort of maintain the integrity of the neighborhood when it comes to design. That is one of our primary focuses of our community and our laws, is to make sure that we have a cohesive neighborhood that is within the theme of the neighborhood as well.
所以在圣马力诺市所有新的建筑物呢，我们希望能够做到，就是不管它的盖法跟设计呢，能够跟现有的这个邻居的风格要维持一致的水准，那同时也一致的形态，那这也是我们目前法律的规定。
And the last thing I'll recommend, given that new construction projects require a public hearing, I encourage anyone who's looking to develop a new home to involve your neighbors early on in the process, to let them know what you're planning to do. That way they can be a part of the process. That way it just makes it easier for yourselves and your architects when they do go through the public hearing process.
既然盖新的建筑物必须要走过公听会，所以我们很建议所有的屋主，如果你决定要盖新的建筑物，你要在很早开始邀请你的邻居参与跟了解你要盖新房子的这个计划，所以呢，它会帮助你在这个过程中更加的顺利。
And so right now I'll open up for questions on this topic.
所以我们现在就开放问问题。But Aldo, can we answer one question on the chair regarding the ADU first?
Yes, I see the question. The question is, can city disclose recent finished ADU cases and also disclose the architects?
这个问题是关于上个我们刚刚提到的 ADU。那这个问题就是我们圣马力诺市可不可以告诉大家最近被认可通过的这些 ADU 的申请表？那还有他们是找哪一些建筑师的？
And the answer to that is yes. We can provide information on newly finished ADUs, those that are in process, as well as disclose who the architects were.
这个答案是可以的，城市是可以公告，就是说公布这些已经被许可或正在盖的，然后也可以说是谁在设计跟盖它。But Aldo, can I ask where do they find it?
If they send me an email, then I can look to providing that information to anyone who asks.
OK， 所以你要拿到刚刚我们说这个通过的 ADU 的申请或正在盖，跟他是哪个建筑盖，你要跟 Aldo 联络，送他一个电子邮件，那他就可以送给你。
Okay, are there any questions about new construction versus renovation projects?
我们现在就邀请这个大家来问有关于要盖新的房子，或者是要装修你现有的房子，你有任何问题吗？我们就欢迎你就写在 chat 上吧，像刚刚关于 ADU 的一样你写在上面，不管你用中文、英文写，我们都会想办法回答你的问题。So we'll wait for whether there's a chat. Just wait for a minute in case.
Okay. Yep.
Okay, now the question coming.
So the question is, how many inspections are required during construction?
这个问题是关于说到底有多少的这个检查的次数在你在盖的时候。
And so it really depends on the type of project. If we're talking about new construction, you're looking at a minimum of at least 15 to 20 types of inspections.
如果你现在讲的是关于新的建筑物的话，那这个所谓的来检查的过程大概有15到20次。
Yeah, so some of the inspections, for example, would be foundation, footing inspection, framing, drywall, lath, roofing. I mean, I can go on, but there's a lot of different types of inspections.
他刚刚讲说为什么有15、20个，主要是因为他每一次去看都有特定的项目，不管是看地基、看它的屋顶、看它的这个里面的坚固的墙结构，反正它大概15到20，这是新的房子。You ready to answer the next question?
The next question
in Chinese. You want me to translate?
Please.
Okay. They are asking, say, I want to remodel my house and garage, and which department in the city and who is the contact person?
Okay, so if you want to remodel the house, that's very much a possibility. You want to contact planning first to make sure that there are no unusual circumstances, and you want to contact either one of the planners, either Eva Choi or Marlon Cervantes.
OK， 这个刚刚 Aldo 解释就是说，你要到城市的 planning department 里面，然后他们身上有2个人在上面。Aldo, would you mind to type those both names, or maybe we can provide it later on for Joanne to send it out?
Yeah, I can provide the emails now.
OK， so Aldo 他会把你刚刚这位Steven， 就是他会把这个2个人的资料呢 ，You're gonna write on chat, right, Aldo?
Yes.
他现在会写在 chat 上面关于那2位市府的员工，就是你刚刚问的说我要装修我家的房子到 city 的哪一个，当他的联络人，他现在 Aldo 会写在下面。Aldo 自己本身的 email address 也在上面。OK， 那 Aldo 已经写了 echoi@city-marino.org 所以你可以把这个联络下来。Now Aldo, we can go to the next question is regarding how much time?
Yeah, so how much time in average for a new construction to get a permit?
这个问题是相关，到底一般来讲，平均来讲，一个全新的建筑物要多久才可以拿到这个许可证？
You're looking at a process that will take you about 6 to 7 months on average.
平均来讲6到7个月。
And so the next question is, please confirm the extent of renovation that will then trigger a hearing.
这个问题是关于说，在什么样情况下你装修现有的房子，然后会导致成需要有公听。
So a new construction will trigger a public hearing, as well as any modification to the house that changes the appearance of the home that you can see from the street.
刚刚我们说了，新的建筑物一定要有公听，但是所谓的装修房子什么时候会有公听？是因为你改变了这个房子从外面的外观，它的所有的外观改变了，即使没有动大小，但是它的外观改变，那个时候就不需要公听费。
The next question is a renovation question. My house has a 6-foot tall metal fence, which was constructed over 25 years ago with a permit. Do I need to get a new permit if I replace the existing damaged fence with the same material?
这个问题是关于所谓的装修啊，就是他的房子呢有一个6尺高的一个铁的这个围栏，那这个是在25年前就有，而且是有许可的。那他现在需要去申请新的许可证吗？如果他想把这个旧有但是已经有点损坏的这个栅栏呢，铁的栅栏换新的材料？
And the answer to that is it really depends. If you're replacing what is sort of cosmetic to the fence, then no, you don't need a permit. But if you're replacing a component of the fence, such as the main support columns or the foundation or footing, then the answer is yes.
这个答案呢，就有要看你是要怎么样修护你这个损毁的这个栅栏，因为如果它只是表面上换一些的东西，那就不需要。可是如果你是要改变它的很重要的支柱，跟它要打地基的部分，那你就要需要有许可。
So the next question is, does the current pandemic situation prolong the inspection timeline?
下一个问题就是，因为现在我们有这个新冠疫情的关系，是不是让这个新房子的所谓做检查的时间拖长了？
And so the answer is that it's been challenging, but our building inspection process has not wavered. It's staying on course. We do a lot of virtual inspections, a lot of inspections via FaceTime, as well as traditional inspections in person.
我们尽量还是维持现有的状况，在这个新冠疫情之下。但是呢，有的时候我们是可以用线上，有的时候是可以透过这个虚拟的线上去看，然后甚至讨论。那有的东西当然就要到现场去看，所以我们会尽量持续。但是所有的这个必须检查项目是不可能被减免的，也不会因为在疫情之下就不做。
So the next question is from Stephen. I'll need help with the translation.
They're just very thankful about the information email you provide.
Right, perfect, thank you. The next question is from Freddie. Does neighbor mean all the neighbors on the same block or just next door neighbors?
下一个问题是关于所谓的邻居的定义，是指说就隔壁的还是一整条同街的所有的邻居？
So the answer is it's a very complex situation. Is not neighbors on the same block, nor is it the neighbors next door. It's really it's a small radius around the property.
这个答案呢就有一点复杂了，因为它并不是指你隔壁或者是那条街，它指的是一个方圆的这个几尺以内的方圆，所以它是一个圆形的覆盖概念，不是只是那条街或者是隔壁。
So the next question, what is the city's opinion on prefabricated ADU buildings?
这个问题又回到了这个城市关于说这种所谓它可能就是把它弄得像 ADU， 但是我想 Aldo 你要解释一下这 prefabricated ADU mean。
Yeah, so a prefabricated ADU is fine. The one responsibility of the designer is to still ensure that the building is going to match the house.
这些所谓连着的房子，你的 ADU 呢，一定要确保它跟你现在的房子的设计感是类似的。
The next question is, do we need the permit for a solar system installation?
下一个是关于说，如果他要这个太阳能的这个系统建筑在房子上，他需要拿到许可吗？
The answer is yes. Please reach out to a qualified solar panel installer to help with the process.
答案是必须的，你必须有这个许可，而且你应该要找到是有建筑执照的，专门在盖这种所谓的太阳能板的这些所谓的装修放上去的这些人有执照的人来做。
So the next question is a great question. What about adding solar panels on top of the roof? Question. It is considered changing the house appearance.
这个问题有关于就是所谓的太阳能板装在屋顶上，那这个如果外面看得到，这是不是考虑成为就是会影响到房子的外观呢？
So solar panels are protected by state law from prohibiting cities from requiring design review, even if they change the appearance of the house. So you can install solar panels anywhere on the home, regardless of whether it's visible or not. The city cannot require design review.
因为这个太阳能的电子板呢是加州的政府呢鼓励的，所以它不准许城市呢根据因为你放了太阳能板在门前，或是改变房子的外观的样貌而来必须要求你做公听，所以这个市政府是不可以要求你这样的，所以你的太阳能板装在房子任何一个地方，即使会影响到房子的外观，市政府都不可以干涉这个部分。
The next question is, I live on a corner lot with a good amount of traffic. I like to extend my existing retaining wall to wrap around the front corner of my home all the way to the front. Currently, the retaining wall is only on the back side of our home. How do we start to apply for the permit, and how long will it take?
这个问题就是说，他住在一个就是转角的房屋，那因为他认为有很多的这个交通在经过，所以他希望能够把他现在的所谓的这个隔墙，就是他的土地上这个隔墙呢，能够盖到延伸到他的前面，可以挡住这些交通的问题。那目前这个墙呢，只有在他的房子的后院。如果他要开始申请这个许可，他要如何开始？然后这要花多久时间可以拿到？
So I recommend that you contact Eva or Marlon to help with that project. But in general, a wall that's next to a street, like on a corner property, that's going to trigger a design review process, which is a public hearing. And that could take you about 2 to 3 months just for that process alone. So I recommend, because it is sort of a complex type of project, I recommend that you contact Eva or Marlon to help guide you through that process. But a hearing is likely required.
因为在这个要盖这个墙跟这个转角呢，可能就会引起必须要有所谓的我们都市委员会 Planning Commission 的这个公听。那因为这样呢，我会建议你现在就我们刚刚上面的 email 那2个市府官员的 email 呢，跟他们联络，研究你要怎么样开始申请。那很有可能你必须要经过公听会，那这公听会要能够排上议程也要几个月，所以这个就跟一般的这个所谓程序呢，可能要久一点，也会复杂一点。
The next question is, what is the general guidelines for the need of a renovation permit? For example, do we need permits for painting and window replacement?
这个问题是关于说对这个应该是一个形式的步骤方针。如果我们要做所谓的房子的装修，那比如说我们如果是要油漆啊、换窗户啊，我们需要申请许可吗？
So the rule of thumb is that anything cosmetic that is non-structural doesn't require a permit. So painting doesn't require permits. Replacing the flooring inside your house from whether tile or wood flooring or pergo flooring, that kind of thing, doesn't require a permit. anything that is structural, anything related to the structural industry, i.e. replacing a window. The next question is on a door, replacing a door, whether it's a front door or a side door or a sliding door. Those, because they're part of the construction industry, require a permit.
基本上在做所谓的房子的整修的时候，如果不牵涉到结构，那它只是一个表面的修改的话，比如说你换个地板啊，本来是木头的换成什么瓷砖啊，或者是你用这个油漆啊，这个都不会影响到结构的，这是不需要申请许可的。那 Aldo 提到说，像类似比如说窗户、门你本来是大门在这里，然后或者是你要换成不同的门本来是右开左开，然后现在变成滑开门，这些都会牵涉到所谓的建筑的结构，所以这些东西就需要许可。
So the next, I think I answered the follow-up question on the door. So the next question is, please confirm that solar panel installation does not require design related to permit, but it needs a building permit.
这个问题就是要再确认一下关于我们刚刚提到的所谓装太阳能板那它是不需要这个公厅的，但是它还是需要许可的，建筑许可的。
So the answer is a solar panel project does not require design review, but it does require a building permit.
答案是对，它需要就是盖的这个所谓的许可，但它是不需要透过所谓的都市设计委员会来做许可的，所以它是只是要申请这个所谓的盖的这个许可，装这个太阳能板的许可。
The next question is a carport allowed to be built?
这个问题是关于就是我们知道很多人他在这个车道上他想要盖一个能够有遮阳的，那可以盖吗？
The answer is no. The code does not allow for carports in the city.
在圣马力诺市是不可以的，不可以盖这种所谓只是盖一个上面，然后只是遮阳而已，给车子的。
The next question is a permit required to add a screen door to a side door?
如果我要把我的侧边的门加一个，就是一个好像一个纱窗这样子，这需要申请许可吗？
And the answer is no, because a screen door is not structural. I know that I mentioned that a door typically requires a permit, but because this is a screen and non-structural, it doesn't require a permit.
在这个问题上，虽然他刚刚提到说换门这些都要拿到所谓的许可证，可是这个所谓纱窗门，因为它不是结构性的东西，它等于是再加一个而已，所以它不需要许可。
The next question is, does roof repair require a permit, or does it depend on the extent of the repair?
这个问题是关于说屋顶的整修的时候是不是需要许可，还是说是看整修的范围多大才来申请许可？
Yeah, it does depend on the extent of the repair. If you're replacing multiple tiles or even going down to the substructure of the roofing system, then yes, you will need a permit.
答案是对的。如果你在整换你的这个屋顶的时候呢，你牵涉到的不管整多少片，然后牵涉到下面的结构，那你是必须要有那个许可的。
Next question, does the exterior painting require a permit? And that's no.
这个问题是关于说，那我房子外面的油漆需要拿到许可吗？答案是不需要的。
Next question is a permit required for a swing set playground in the backyard?
如果我在家里后院装一个这个荡秋千的游玩的这些设施，我需要申请这个许可吗？
And it really depends on the playground or the play set. If it's a prefabricated play set or playground that you purchase at any supplier, then the answer is no. If it's oh, go ahead.
刚刚问了说是不是装这些游乐设施是不是需要 permit？ 那 Aldo 回答就是，如果这个是已经在 这个建筑商就是你买的那个是完整的，已经都设好了，已经是现成的，然后你只要现成的模型，就是人家已经架构好的，盖在你的背后，那是不需要许可的。
If you need to build the structure and add a foundation or concrete to the ground, then that's no longer a prefab structure. You'll need a permit for those.
可是如果你是必须不是现有的这种直接放上去，而是你要盖地基，重新再架光柱或是架什么木柱的话，那这个就需要以许可。
The next question, if we replace the windows with exact style, do we need to apply for a permit? The answer is yes.
如果我们换窗户，而且是换一模一样的同样的材料，我们还需要申请许可吗？答案是你还是需要。
The next question is changing the exterior paint color does the question is, does changing the exterior paint require design review?
I guess we skipped one.
Did we?
The question is that if the patio they want to add in the screen door, like do they need a permit? It's already a patio, but they want to add in the screen door.
Yeah, the answer is no.
如果你是我们刚刚说的露台加装纱门，不需要 permit， 不需要许可。And then
Sorry about that.
Yes, okay.
So the next question is changing the exterior paint color, whether that requires design review.
如果你要换这个外面的这个油漆的颜色，需要得到这个许可吗？需要被我们的都市规划局做审查吗？
And the answer is no. You don't need DRC for paint color.
你不需要，你换颜色也不需要。
Is the next one about patio? Is that?
Oh no, yeah, that one we already answered. You can go to that power pole.
So the question is, I have a power pole in the rear property. How close can I build to it?
现在他问的就是说，他房子的后院里面的土地上有一个电线杆，那他能够建到多靠近那个电线杆？
For that, you'll have to contact Edison to determine what the requirements are. The city does not have any requirements for building near a power pole.
关于这个，你就要去问我们的爱迪生电力公司了，因为这个不是我们城市没有特别关于这个的规划，但是你需要问一下爱迪生电力公司。The next one has a Chinese say the permit already received the ADU. How will they be adding to the property title?
Yes, it will.
会的。Next one, the patio adding the glass door. Do they need a permit?
A glass door is more permanent, and so yes.
如果你是加玻璃门，你就要许可。刚刚我们讲是纱门不需要，但是玻璃门因为它结构的关系，所以它需要许可。
Okay. I think we've exhausted that topic.
我想我们已经回答了关于各式各样关于的问题，那我们就讲下一个了。I learned a lot, Aldo, myself.
I know, yeah. So
我自己都学了很多。
The next topic is historic preservation.
下一个就是关于我们城市的所谓历史保护的这个需求。
And what I wanted to mention on this one is that the city has recently put together a citywide historic survey that identified properties that may qualify as historic resources.
大家都知道我们城市呢最近有已经通过了一个怎么样做历史景观的保护，然后也做了一个问卷调查，然后也调查了我们整个城市里面有哪些房子是需要做历史保护的。
And really what it's done is it's really affected the process for looking at new construction projects and renovation projects.
Yeah. Aldo, do you want to answer the chat first before we move on to historical preservation? Because there's a two.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, let me translate the first one in Chinese, okay? So they are saying that building the same house in the city of San Marino, the cost of construction cost is much higher than the neighborhood city. And is that because our city is requiring so many unique building material, or the construction, particularly permit requirement. That's why our cost is much higher than other nearby cities.
Well, it's really both. It's really the uniqueness of our design requirements, and more so because of the I guess the needs of the property owner in terms of the types of construction they want to see, the types of, for example, the types of faucets, the types of fixtures, appliances, that kind of thing. Those add to the value of construction.
猫的答案就是说，没错，我们城市是比较贵，一部分是因为在设计过程中要经过设计都市委员会的审查。那另外一个就是，其实盖房子的材料在圣马力诺很多的房子，主要不只是盖的最基本建筑，事实上它使用的不管是什么水龙头啊，或者是它使用的一些要安装在房子上的器具呢，或者是相关的设施呢，都是不同的材料跟不同的建商，所以它本来就可能最后导致成它的成本比较高。Next question is in English, so you can see, right?
Yeah. So planning to install solar panels on top of the detached garage. Do I need to obtain permit to tunnel an electrical conduit between the garage to the main house electrical panel? Yes.
这个问题就是关于说要盖这个太阳能板在屋顶上，那他想要盖的是盖在一个他的车库的上面，那车库是跟房子没有连在一起的，那是不是他还是需要申请所谓的许可，要把这个电板啊、电路啊连接上主屋上去？那答案是必须的。
Oh.
What's the consequence? You want to answer that?
So next question, what is the consequence of buying a house which does not have a permit for vinyl window replacement?
他问的问题是说，如果我买了一个房子，但他这房子自己当初在做这些窗户换的时候，他并没有申请这个许可，那我自己称为屋主，我会有什么相关的影响？
Well, there are really no consequences. There are existing conditions, and they won't really impact you until you look to remodel the house. At that point, we'll request that the vinyl windows be replaced.
这基本上对屋主买了这个现有的房子是没有影响的。那唯一的可能就是，当有一天如果你自己想要做房子的整修的那个时候城市就会要求你在做申请的时候，把那些 vinyl 的 window 换回来，它本来应该是正确的 window。但你现在买了既有的房子是这样，对你是没有影响的，我们也不会要求你做什么事。
So the next question is, to what extent of a renovation will trigger the addition of fire sprinklers?
这个问题是关于说，在什么样这个房子装修的情况下，会让你必须装更多的这种就是防火的洒水器。
Well, there are a few projects. New construction will trigger fire sprinklers. On a renovation project, if you add a story to the home, you'll need to have fire sprinklers installed. If you remodel the interior space to the extent of more than at least 40% of the existing square footage, that's going to also trigger fire sprinklers.
当然新建筑物都一定要装这个所谓的消防洒水系统，但是旧房子在做装修的时候，如果你是比如说加盖第二层楼，或者是你修改的面积里面的装潢的改变超过40%你现有的这个居住面积的话，那你就必须要针对这个加装所谓的消防洒水器的要求。
Oh, another question. Regarding roof, my existing home material is wood. If we replace the entire roof, can we still use wood or has it changed to tile style?
这个问题是关于这屋顶的。他说我整个房子的屋顶的材料都是木头。那如果我们要全部换的时候，我们是一定只能用木头，还是可以换成 tile 的？
Yes, the answer is yes. You can replace the wood with wood again, as long as the new wood material is of a Class A fire rating, which is the highest level of fire protection you'll have on that wood roof.
你是可以全部都再换跟原来一样的木头，但是你要确保这个木头是在这个防火的 规格上是 Class A fire 的这个木头保护。Can they do tile? Change it to tile?
And they can also change it to tile as long as it's on our pre-approved roofing list.
那你也可以换成 tile roof， 那但是就是你必须是我们圣马力诺市已经有事先有一个准则，就是哪一些 tile roof 是可以用的，你就从那里面挑。
So going back to the historic preservation topic, the only reason why I wanted to talk about this one is to discuss how it really affects your property and what options do you have.
现在我要讨论这个关于所谓的历史保护啊，那我主要是想说这个对大家跟这个城市跟保护有什么样重要的关系。
So the citywide historic survey identified properties that qualify as potentially historic.
我们城市做了一个调查，然后呢去详细的找出哪一些房子是符合这个所谓的历史的保护的。
So this provides any property that's been identified on that list to look towards formalizing the home as a historic resource.
那做完这一次的问卷之后呢，那有一个应该说一整个列的关于哪一些房子，然后最后就是把它变成一个正式化的，让他知道哪些房子是受到历史保护的。
Now, if you're on that list as a potential historic resource and you want to develop the property, you may not have that ability to fully develop the property because you're obligated to now preserve the home as it is.
如果你的房子目前已经被列在这个所谓必须有可能要成为历史保护的房子呢，那当你要做任何房子的修改的时候呢，你没有办法随心所欲，你可能要根据这个维持这个房子本身的历史价值呢，在某些东西上你是不可以做更动的。
So I know we only have about 20 minutes left or so. I wanted to really talk about trees. So are there any questions about historic preservation before we move on to a tree topic?
因为我们现在时间也有限了啊，所以我们如果大家对这个所谓历史保护没有特别的问题，他想要特别聊一聊关于这个树木的修剪的问题。Okay.
Any
No
questions?
question. So far, no.
Okay. So I'm going to combine the last two bullet points about trees.
我现在把剩下两个树的修剪跟树的砍伐两个都放在一起讲。
The city recently adopted a new tree preservation ordinance that essentially requires permits for the removal or pruning of specific types of trees in the city.
我们城市为了保护我们自己的这个树种啊，我们现在是有一个规范，就是不管你是要把它移除或者是做砍伐，这个都一定要有许可。
So the code has been written to essentially require the removal, an application to remove a tree, really for any size of tree. Right now, specifically speaking, any tree that is 4 inches in diameter or 6 inches in diameter, that's as well as 15 feet in height, requires a permit before you can remove it.
城市现在已经有法规，就是任何时候你要移任何一个树，它假设是在它的圆的4尺到6尺，甚至是15尺高的房，你全部你想要移除它，你就一定要去申请这个许可。
So if you meet any of those thresholds, please call the department to request an application to remove the tree and go through the process of the application before removing the tree.
所以你一定要先联络市政府让我们知道你想要移哪一个树，你千万不要先去移了，所以你一定要先拿到这个许可才可以去移这些树。
And I'll display the website in a bit, but look at the ordinance. It's on the city, the community development website. You'll see that there are specific types of trees that are protected. There are rules and regulations for notification of the neighbors before you remove the tree.
因为市政府在网站上有很完整的详列哪一些树，什么样的树，它被保护的原则跟它的条件，然后还有就是什么时候你要通知邻居，这个都写在上面。 Aldo, do you want to see the question on?
Yeah. Yeah. So one of the questions is, as owners, can we be allowed to prune trees within our property? What is the max size circumference of a branch are we allowed to trim?
这个问题就是说，身为房子的屋主啊，我们可以修剪这个树枝吗？在我们自己的房地产上，那它有没有规训说多大以上的树干、树枝是才可以修剪？我们可以自己把它修剪。
Yes, so the code does provide a certain percentage that you could that requires the permit to trim a tree, and that's 10% of an established tree or oak tree, or 20% of a heritage tree. And so if you are less than those two, either 10% or 20%, you can go ahead and prune the tree. I always recommend that you hire an expert tree trimmer to do the work because you could be facing severe fines if you go beyond those two requirements.
这个问题呢，是的，就是说，如果你修剪的这个树呢，它是一个成型的树，如果是 oak tree， 你修剪低于它的总共的10%，或是这个 heritage tree 呢，你低于20%，只要你在这个限制之内呢，你是可以修剪的。但是他要再三强调，就是你一定要寻找专业的有执照的这个修剪树的专家，然后不然的话，如果你触犯了规定，的罚款是非常的重的。
Yeah, so when in doubt, always contact the department to ask questions about trees. We do try our best to let the public know of all the rules and regulations. The last thing we want to do is to have to deal with a property owner with respect to overly pruning a tree or removing a tree, because there are some severe fines related to the tree preservation ordinance that you certainly want to avoid.
我们希望鼓励所有的屋主呢，真的要打电话来市政府问相关要砍树的事情。原因是因为如果你做了不适当之后，这个可能造成相当严重的罚款。我们也不希望我们市民呢、屋主呢面临到最后因为造成的问题而造成受到重罚，所以希望大家要跟市政府联络。
There's some more questions that came up here. Give me a second.
Okay. How do we know if our house?
Yeah, so how do we know if our house belongs to city? I guess the question is, how do we know if our home is on the city list? We do have a list that's on the website, and I'm going to pull up the website in a little bit to show where you can find the list of properties that made it to the survey, as well as to show you the link to our tree preservation ordinance that we can start looking at the rules and regulations.
Okay, so Aldo, you can do that when I answer the question in Chinese.
Yes.
他现在就是这个问题是关于说，我们怎么知道我们的房子是不是已经在城市的历史保护的这个名单上面了？那 Aldo 现在呢，他会把市政府的网站呢告诉大家，事实上这个哪一些房子是有可能历史保护，事实上已经透过上次的问卷呢，已经公布在我们的城市的官网上面了啊。现在他就放官网，那他等一下也会透过这个官网告诉你有关于刚刚我们说砍树、修树的一些详细的规则。Aldo, you want to explain the website?
Yeah. So, can you see the website?
Yes.
Okay, great.
这是我们市政府的官网。
So if you go to our city website, you'll find our community development page. On that, you'll have on the left-hand side, you'll have all these various links.
你到我们的官网呢，你就寻找就是所谓的社区发展部 （Community Development Department）， 然后在左边那个相关的一些网页呢，里面就有一个是关于所谓历史保护的这个你可以点击的部分。
Yeah. So if you click on historic preservation. It'll take
如果
you
你
to
点击这个所谓历史保护的页面
So it'll take you to our historic preservation page. And on that page, you will find the final list, which is the survey findings property list.
你会看到他现在点的这个就是那个完整的经过他们问卷之后，认为这些房子都有历史保护的价值的这个名单，所以你可以上去看那些房子在上面。
And if you go to the planning division and click on tree preservation,
那如果你到这个所谓的都市规划的这个页面，它有一个关于就是怎么样保护树的这个页面。
Yeah, so you'll find a link to the new code, the new tree preservation ordinance, as well as all the applications that you'll need for either removing a tree, trimming a tree, or applying to remove a dead tree. And we do have translation that will help guide anyone to the process.
那在这个网页，你刚刚可以看到说，它因为最近刚刚他提到的城市刚刚通过的保护树的这些城市的法规都在这个网页上，那甚至有做一个中文的翻译啊，那他现在点击的就是这个树木保护的中文翻译。
And so I know that helped answer some of the questions.
Yes.
One of the other questions is what is required for a city's final inspection for selling a property or selling a home? If something is done without a permit, does owner need to apply for a permit and correct those items to pass city inspection?
这个问题是有关于就是说，如果说他是要这房子本身在修改中间，万一他没有所谓的许可证，可是因为这个房子现在要卖的话，那他是不是需要重新把这些所谓的许可，还要把所有的这些没有拿到许可的东西全部都要再通过市政府的检查一次。
Yeah, whenever you sell a property, you do have to go through what we call a residential compliance process that does look to find unpermitted buildings in the property.
你在卖房子的是没有错，市政府是有一个就是屋主必须要有一个清单，就是他哪一些东西是有许可的，哪些没许可的。
And if we do find unpermitted bedrooms, kitchens, or any unsafe condition, you will be required to make those corrections before you sell the property.
如果市政府发现你有比如说没有许可的多盖的房间、厨房，或者是安全上有顾虑的一些整修没有得过许可的，那城市会要求你把这些都做完之后才可以卖房子。
The next two questions, I'll need help with the translation. Jennifer, the first one.
Yeah, that one you already told them about where to find the list.
Okay.
哪里可以找到自己的？我们刚刚已经讲了，就是网站上有那个，你会看到那个 list. And the next question will be, in their backyard, they have a huge kind of very dead tree. So how should they contact the city? And
yes, what they should do is they should contact the city to have an inspection done to determine whether the tree is dead. If the tree is determined to be dead, then they will still need to apply through the permit process. But the fees will be waived for the permit.
对，如果你家里有那种枯树、大树，你要第一件做的事是到城市来叫我们来看，我们来确认这个树是不是真的死掉。那如果这个树真的死掉了，你还是一样要申请这个许可来把死掉的树铲除，但是这个死掉树的铲除这个申请费呢就不需要付了。但是不管怎么样，你都要跟市政府来看，然后确认这个树死了，还是要申请许可。
I think the next question's from Joe.
Yeah. Yes. So in the backyard stairway expansion, are they part of an ADU? Because they probably have the steep slope. So there's a slope they have to go to the backyard. So the current house and the ADU, there's a distance that's very narrow. So when you do the backyard stairway expansion, is that part of the ADU application?
Yes, it is. Yes.
是的，你必须，这也是要一起做的。
Next question is from Charlie.
There's an English one. Oh, yeah, Charlie. Okay. Huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. So many questions I cannot see. Okay. So they say that the neighbor has an oak tree and they have a broken branch just dropped at my backyard. Can I have my gardener remove it?
If the tree's on the ground, certainly they can remove it. But if the tree needs to be further pruned, then I recommend that they contact the neighbor to form an agreement to prune the tree entirely, not just one side of it.
OK， 这个问题本来就是邻居家的一个橡木树，如果一节断裂在我家后院，可不可以请园丁移走？那 Aldo 的回答是，如果这个断裂的树干已经掉在地上了，跟原来的树完全分离，当然你可以移走。可是如果它断裂，但是还连在这个橡木上，有一部分还连接上，它必须跟邻居讨论，就是说可不可以请他找一个有 license 的这个砍树的人来把这个有一点断裂的树枝做完整的移除，那这也是要 permit， 所以那当然看几%，我们刚刚说橡树是10%，所以这也就是看你的情况了。The next question.
So the next question, how do I deal with the trees overgrown to my property coming from neighbors if neighbors don't do the tree service after my notice to neighbors?
这个问题是关于说，如果我邻居的房子，我邻居他的树呢长得过头到我的房产地上了，那但是跟邻居讲了，他又不愿意做修剪，我要怎么办？
So this is a very typical question. When you have a neighbor tree that overgrows over the property lines, I always recommend that you approach the neighbor to do a full assessment of the tree for pruning purposes.
这个常常发生。那如果说是邻居的树，那你真的就要跟邻居沟通，希望他们可以找一个有执照的修剪树的人来了解这个树整个的成型、整个的状况跟大小。
And so the follow-up to that is the tree is property. And so given that it's property, as a neighbor pruning the tree, you could be damaging their property. And vice versa, if a limb were to fall off that tree and damage your property on your side, they could be liable for the damages.
所以因为树也是像房子一样，就是房产的价值，房产的一部分，树也是房产的一部分。所以如果邻居的树影响到你，造成你的有任何的损伤，那个邻居有责任。那如果你砍了他的树，造成他的这个房产的损失，你有责任。
There's a follow-up question from Chen, iPhone. Does city require inspection during the property sales transaction?
这个问题是关于说，城市需要做所谓的房产的检验吗？因为他正在做买卖的交易的过程。
And the answer is yes, by a third-party vendor, not the city inspector.
你需要，但是这个是由外面的厂商做的，不是由城市的员工或者官员做的。
A question from Jay-Z. If I want to convert a space to kitchen inside the existing ADU, does it require a permit? The answer is yes.
如果我想把这个想在他盖的这个 ADU 里面呢，把它转换成一个位置要改变，变成是厨房的话，我需不需要申请这个许可？答案是要的。
Next question is, if owner combines 2 small bedrooms to 1 large bedroom and remove small interior walls and change original floor plan, does owner change back when owner sells the house?
这个问题是关于说，如果屋主呢，他把2个小房间换成把它连成一个大房间，然后改掉了中间的一些所谓它的连接墙或一些室内装潢的改变，那这个跟原来一开始房子的这个房子的图就不太一样了。那当屋主想要卖的时候，他需不需要改回原来这个的建屋的架构？
And really the answer to that is certainly it can be changed back as long as a permit is obtained before making the change.
如果你要改回来的话，可以，但是你还是要再申请许可。
Next question from Lily. Do both property owners should pay for the cost of fixing the fence between 2 properties? Can one property owner refuse to pay for it? What can we do if the neighbor doesn't want to pay for the cost?
这个问题是关于就是如果这个我们所谓的 应该隔离的这个所谓的栅栏呢，这个 fence 呢，那如果属于两边的屋主的中间，那如果其中一个拒绝要修复的时候拒绝付，或那我们怎么样跟这个邻居的不愿意付这个成本的人，就是他修他这个中间的这个栅栏。
Yeah, so another very common question. Unfortunately, the city doesn't get involved with respect to who pays for what on a common ownership issue like a wall or a fence. It's something that you'll have to sort of look for your legal remedies when it comes to this kind of situation of who pays for what on a shared property line.
关于这种两个连接的地产，然后中间的这种隔绝的，不管是墙或者是栅栏，或者是这个是城市是不会介入的，因为这个就是属于法律上的问题了，就是你们认为谁应该出多少钱，这个城市是不介入的。
Okay, that was the last question. Oh, there's more.
Don't keep asking. I'm kidding. 他说已经最后一个问题，我说你不要一直问，不要一直写哈，没关系，你还是回答吧。You can ask.
Do we need to get permit for a fence, or is required that we have to fix broken fence?
我们现在又回到说，这个盖这个连接分开中间的这个栅栏是不是需要许可？那我们要修已经坏掉的，是不是也需要许可？
So the city codes do not require that you have fences at all. The only time that you're required to have a fence is if there's a pool on the property. The fence acts as the safety barrier for small children to prevent them from accessing a property with a pool.
其实城市呢，并没有关于所谓这种围栏栅栏的这个相关，主要是因为通常就是只有在游泳池的时候，是因为这个为了安全起见，所以游泳池旁边一定要做这种所谓的围栏跟栅栏。那但是一般的房子，基本上城市并没有要你们做这些围栏。
Okay, another question related to a question about change floor plan. When owners change a floor plan without a permit, does owner change back to past city sale inspection?
这个又是回到刚刚那个关于说他改变了当初他的这个画图，这个房子的这个房间几间什么的。那如果说这个屋主已经改变了，然后而且他改变的时候没有拿到许可，那他等到他要想要卖的时候，要拿到这个可以卖的许可的这个检查，是不是他要改回原来的样子？
Yeah, so the owner can certainly change back to what's original with a permit to pass the inspection. You can certainly look to negotiating with the buyer to take on the responsibility of doing that. But that's very rare for a buyer to take on the responsibility, but that's an option.
OK， 对，就是说屋主呢在卖之前，他是可以申请许可，把它改回原来该有的这个本来房子怎么样的结构，几个房间这些回到原来的样子。那如果这个卖的人原有屋主不想做，要请这个新买的人来做这件事也可以，可是绝大多数新买的人是不愿意完成这个检查的过程跟改变回去原来的样子的过程。但是是的，你申请过程你可以去改这个。
Okay, so I will take this last question.
I'm so glad you say the last.
Yeah, so regarding ADU increased footage, do we need extra parking space?
这是最后一个问题了。那这最后一个问题就是关于刚刚我们所谓盖这个附属的住宅单位啊，那它会增加我们的所谓的居住面积嘛？那是不是我们因此必须要提供另外额外的所谓的停车位？
The law says if you would live within 1/2 mile of a bus stop or a transit stop, you don't need to provide a parking space for the ADU. Now, if you're outside 1.5 miles of a bus stop or transit stop, you can actually meet the parking requirements by providing a paved surface on the ground and calling that your parking space.
所以如果你的房子是距离公车站在 1.5 米的距离之内，你是不需要为了多余的 ADU 的 footage 去盖这个所谓的 提供更多的停车位。但是如果你是超过1.5迈，距离公车站超过1.5迈，那你也可以申请在这个就是你的说应该说房子前面的这种停车道上面是有一个 concrete， 只要能够停车的也是可以的。你可以特别拿到这样的准许，让你在房子的土地上有一个可以停车的位置，但不需要是车库。
Okay, yes, and that's correct. It's half a mile. The code says 1/2 mile, but it's half a mile.
Oh, okay. 它改正就是说扣上 ，so you say it's a half mile, it's not 1.5 mile. Even the code.
Not 1.5 mile, 1/2 mile. So half a mile.
Oh, half mile 就是0.5 迈这样子。
Okay, so I hope you can see my contact information on the screen. It is my name, my title, my email address, and that is the link to the city website, to the community development site where we have a majority of the information that I shared. And so by all means, take advantage of this information. And I know we covered a lot of information in the last hour and a half. You can reach out to me if you have any follow-up questions.
今天我们讲了很多，那最重要就是这是我的联络方式，然后上面还有我们的网站，然后怎么样到我们的社区发展局的网页。那我今天提供的所有资料都在这里哦。那也希望你主动跟我们联络，有什么问题？今天我们讲了很多相关的问题。
Okay.
Thank you so much, Aldo, and really
thank you.
Your
Thank you for the invitation.
I learned a lot, but I don't think I remember all of it, and I need to go on the website.
Yeah, me neither.
我们聊到说，他今天讲的东西非常的丰富，也很多，但是因为真的是很难记住所有的事情，所以也希望大家市民呢，就是每次有问题的时候，主要去跟我们的市政府的官员呢沟通，然后看网页，然后询问问题，然后能够得到答案。那谢谢大家今天参加我们华协举办的这个跟市政府的一个这个问答。那也谢谢 Aldo 花所有的时间。Thank you so much, Aldo. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Anytime, really.
Now you say anytime, you're gonna get a call. 他说他们时候都来，他说我说那你会接到很多电话。Anytime.
Yeah.
Okay, bye.
Okay. Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.